Hello, everyone. Welcome to the SavvyCast. This is Jamie, and I'm thrilled that you're here today, whether you're watching on YouTube or listening to the podcast. My guest today is Becca Stevens, a nonprofit leader, entrepreneur, survivor, and founder and president of Thistle Farms. Stevens founded Thistle Farms in 1997 with a single home for survivors of trafficking and addiction. The Nashville flagship includes a residential program that serves as a national model for women's recovery. There are now 92 organizations providing over 500 beds to survivors in its network. I am thrilled and delighted to have as my guest today Becca Stevens. So, without further ado, Becca, welcome and thank you for joining me today on the SavvyCast.
I am so happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
Well, I am grateful to you. You have accomplished so much in your life on the benefit of others, and you are such an inspiration. And I'm so glad you're here, and I'm ready to dive in. But I always start with an icebreaker question for all of my guests, and it is, what would you choose as your last meal?
Oh my gosh, I can't believe you just get one last meal. That doesn't seem fair, does it?
I know.
I went pescatarian a few years ago just to kind of balance myself and be like kind of a little bit more mindful. And
Pescatarian. Now, does that mean you can eat you
fish.
can only fish? Okay.
You can eat fish, you can eat yeah, fish. It's not like it goes vegan's super stressful, then vegetarian's a little bit less stressful, but pescatarian is so not stressful because you can go to any restaurant and order fish. It's easy,
Yeah.
easy, easy.
Yeah.
But if it was my very last meal, I'm then probably gonna do a burger.
Oh, goodness. Yeah.
Just
I'm
skip
with
it.
you.
Just be done with it. It's
That's
like
it.
if I'm going out, I'm just gonna go out with a big burger.
Oh, listen, I could be right there with you, but I would have to add the fries.
Yes, well, salt is my love language.
Me too. Oh my goodness. Well, Becca, first of all, now I'm assuming you live in Nashville,
I do.
where Thistle Farms, the flagship Thistle Farms is. Can you just start by telling everyone what is Thistle Farms?
Absolutely. So, Thistle Farms is now a global movement for women's freedom who work with women who are survivors of trafficking, who have endured addiction, and who have been in prison. But we started almost 30 years ago with one house and five women in Nashville, Tennessee. And we were working with women, who all have those just traumatic stories. And they were doing amazing work, but they were still so poor that they were making very scary choices about mostly relationships. Like women at Thistle Farms relapse over a relationship before anything else. They'll go back out to the streets, get in horrible situations because, really of the violence and vulnerability of just being poor and not having tons of choices. So, about 3 or 4 years into the work, I decided we were going to start our own company, a bath and body care company. So now Thistle Farms is best known as the largest justice enterprise working with women survivors in the U.S.
Oh my, so it is the largest.
It is.
Now, can you define what a justice enterprise is?
Yeah, it's really a social enterprise, but it's like a subcategory of that I think is really that subcategory is super important because it is that the workforce is the mission. In other words, social enterprise is this huge umbrella that just means you have a business that has a social good. But when you're a justice enterprise, it means, the workforce is the mission and you happen to be making products. So, in other words, it's a
Oh,
mission with a business versus a business with a mission.
oh my God. Okay,
That's how Forbes magazine describes it.
that is amazing. You know what? I never knew that. So it is all about the work being done, and the women who are doing it. And I assume that every woman has been a victim of sex or human trafficking.
Yes.
How do you find your women?
Oh my gosh, you know what? That since the beginning, even before the word human trafficking was used, by the way, Back in the day, you could be 14 years old on the streets and nobody saw you as a trafficking victim. Back in the day, do you remember that? There would be like, oh my gosh, it's probably a crack addict and she's getting in the
Yes.
cars, instead of like somebody is abusing and hurting her and addicting her and all those things. So even before that whole concept of we got to have more compassion for young girls, especially who had been on the streets. And on average, the women that we have served, first went on the streets at like 15 years old, but
Mm,
some much younger. But
mm.
anyway, we decided early on that we were going to really try to do outreach, try to meet people. But right at the very beginning, we knew it was like, oh my gosh, the demand is so high. So we have a whole network of groups. So Thistle Farms, the headquarters is in Nashville, but we're in 72 communities around the country with long term free beds for survivors.
Oh,
And
wow.
we have more than 400 women on the waiting list. So there's 680 beds in the network, and there's hundreds of women on the waiting list. So like we don't even do outreach. Like one thing that I think is kind of amazing is that when I'll do this podcast with you, which I'm so grateful for, we'll get more referrals than we will sales.
Wow.
That's kind of hard. And
Really? That it's
mhm.
that prevalent?
Well, that, and it's like you can imagine, just imagine. I mean, I know there's this emphasis on rescue, which is hugely important, but also there's people who are just suffering and not being rescued, that linger in the prisons and on the streets, who have been victims.
Mhm.
So you can imagine if you're listening to your podcast and it's like, oh my gosh, I have my cousin's friend who has a daughter that's been on the streets and they've been looking for something like this because it's 2 years free with all the wraparound services. I mean, we don't charge people, we just go out and help. Like, and when you were talking about the stings that people do to rescue, this, they call us for the
Okay.
housing.
So when a predator, for lack of the better term, that is caught, his victim will might come to you all, and so
Yes,
law
or the,
enforcement
well,
contacts you.
yes.
Okay,
Like
okay,
we have a safe house, we have all of those things. So we try to work with everybody.
okay, Becca. Let me start off by how I found you. One of my fabulous dear team members gifted me these bath, I want to say bombs, but these beautiful
Yeah. Bath
bath
salts.
bombs, and yes, and candles. I'm like, oh my goodness, they're beautiful, they smell great. And she then told me, and I said, Tiffany, where is Thistle Farms? I want to get more of these. And she told me about your organization. She said, Jamie, it's run by women who are victims. They're working. I mean, it's amazing. So, how does a victim or a survivor get from the street to Thistle Farms, and what does that whole process look like? I heard you say it has a 2 year. There's
Hmm.
2 years, but how does it look in the very beginning when they're fresh off the streets? I mean,
Yeah.
how does it work? How do you
So,
integrate?
the thing that's a miracle to me about Thistle Farms is that we don't do this for women. We really do it alongside women. So, like the director of all our programs, she came in probably 18 years ago. She was young. She came in off the streets. She graduated. She ended up getting a degree, and then she ended up getting her master's degree in social
Wow.
work. She got married. She has two kids. One's going to college this year.
Oh my
I mean,
goodness.
she's this miracle, but she's the director of all residential services. The woman who runs the national network came into the program same time, around the same time, ended up managing the store. And then she was such an amazing worker on spreadsheets and on networking that she has now taken over organizing and helping all the communities talk to each other and do it. So they have, such firsthand knowledge because they've actually been through the program and now they're
Wow.
running these aspects of it. So it's very tailor made specifically for women who have gone through these things, with compassion, with love, with structure, which is so important. So when women first come in, their days are very structured. They stay for, months doing work on themselves, on getting their teeth. on mental health, on their bodies, programs where they have occupational therapists, physical therapists, all of those things, alongside being on track for a lot of people have addictions when they've been in these situations. A lot of people are coming from super dysfunctional families, and so long term therapy is critical.
So how
Um,
long do you do that before they start actually
they they
working?
don't start working until 6 months, and then at six
Okay.
months, then we have an entire job readiness program. So see, when your workforce is the mission, one thing I think people need to remember is that means that we invest so much in our workforce
Mhm.
that the margins of a justice enterprise look radically different. I mean, the cost is really different, but we want to pay that because we believe that we can scale and sustain a wider community when women heal.
Mhm.
So it looks very structured, and then it gets less structured as you're going. You save money. You know, we celebrated 3 women buying their own house this spring. It was so fun.
Wow. So they do earn a living when they're working at Thistle Farms.
Yes, and they get benefits. They have health care. I mean, they start off in the job readiness program and the job training program, but then as you move up and as your recovery, and I mean recovery in every sense of that word,
Right.
with your faith, with your life, with your, health, all of it. As that gets more solid, then you take on more. But when you're a full time employee at Thistle Farms, you definitely make a living, and the whole hope is that you are economically independent enough to make choices in your life that are healthy for you, that are healthy for your kids, that if you fall in love and get married, that it's healthy for your family, all of that.
Okay, Becca, I want to, I guess, rewind just a bit. We're talking about all this, and in your bio, it says you are a survivor. Tell us about that.
Mm. So I think part of the reason that I started Thistle Farms, honestly, was because I'd gone through some stuff myself. My father was killed when I was little. I was 5 years old, and he was a pastor at a church. And one of the elders in the church kind of took our family under his wing and began to sexually abuse me. And honestly, my first memory is actually in the fellowship hall of the church. That was my first experience at it. I mean, I was 6, 7 years old, and so I went through it for a few years, and then it's a long story, but I think all of that really helped me understand how those experiences inform every other decision people make in their life about what safety looks like, about what relationships look like, all of that. And so, I mean, I did always did super well in school, went to divinity school, got ordained in the Episcopal Church, but I always knew really what I wanted to do was create safe spaces for women who didn't have some of the benefits I had, you know, that didn't have an amazing mother, that didn't have education opportunities, that didn't have, addiction in their family, all of those things that I think really compound the issues.
So that your the abuse that you suffered from beginning at the age of 6 is the catalyst behind your whole life mission to be.
Yes, I don't think it was, I don't know if it's my whole life mission, because I think there was also other things that played into that, like reading scriptures, or, and the idea of like, when we do this for the least of us, we do it for, uh,
Mhm. Yeah.
I think that played into it. And I think I had a mother who was, like loved people and cared for children. So I had those inclinations anyway, but I think specifically working with women who had this history was because I could kind of get it. Not I mean, my story doesn't even begin to compare to the stories you hear, but it gave me enough of a sense of like, this is really hard. I mean, it's really hard to get through some of that and then have, functioning, beautiful relationships that are lifelong. Like, I was lucky. I got married at 25 to a beautiful songwriter in town, and we just celebrated 35 years of marriage.
Mm.
And he walked through a lot of stuff with me to get there, and not everybody is that lucky.
Right. Right. Wow. Okay, Becca, what let's walk through, just take a typical, and I know there's no typical, but a woman who goes from the street, she's at Thistle Farm, she's gone through the 6 months of healing and therapy and all of those things to get to a better place. Do most women after that 6 months, do they stay? Because I'm sure they have a choice to stay or to leave. Do most of them stay?
You want to hear something crazy? So I've
Mm-hmm.
been doing this, like I said, for 3 decades. I've been doing this work. 2024 was the miracle year of Thistle Farms. We have 6 residential homes, safe house, all of that. We had 0 people leave in 2024. Nobody went back
Wow.
out to the street. Nobody prostituted themselves or was abused and taken back out by somebody. Nobody used a drug. Zero. It was, I have never had that. So you're talking, you know, a lot of women and nobody went back out. Is
How
it
many
nobody?
women
It's
in?
about, it's like 6 to 8 per, I don't know. It's different. Each house is different. I would say probably maybe between 36 and 40 women. I'd have to count it up.
Okay, okay. So once they've gone through the 6 months, how long does it take for them? Because they are making products. I mean, it's a business with
I
a
wish
lot.
you'd come and see us.
Oh, I am coming. I literally am. Okay, so what part? You're in Nashville near. You've got several locations in Nashville, correct? But then there's
Correct.
but the store. Where in Nashville is the store?
So that's on Charlotte Avenue. And the store is connected to a cafe. So in 2013, we really wanted to engage the wider community into this story, right? Because it's not about being separate and saying, oh, this has to happen in secret. It's like, no, this is a community issue and we need to engage the community so people, all of us can feel hopeful. All of us can feel love and meaning in our lives. All of us need this. And so we opened a cafe so you can come to the store and the cafe, and they are stunning places. They're beautiful. We were voted the best cafe in Nashville in
Oh my
last
goodness.
year in the Nashville scene. I mean, it's very high quality. Everything we do tries to link lavish and economic for healing. So you like the idea is don't do it on the cheap, do it well. So you just do it once.
Okay, that is amazing, and congrats on that award because wow, Nashville has fabulous places to eat. From I mean, fabulous.
I know.
Do you? Okay, I'm assuming. Do you get federal funding? How are you funded?
From the very beginning, I never wanted to take any federal funding. I always said if all of us could just give in gratitude for the mercy we've known, we would be okay. And we operated that way for a long time. Then we ended up getting a grant from the state. And then when COVID hit, we got that PPP money or
Hmm.
PPP, whatever it was, we got that
Yeah.
money. And we have very small grants that we've gotten since then on and off, but we do not depend on federal funding. Thank God.
Yeah. Hmm.
Thank God
Hmm.
for our operations. That's not, we depend on donations and we depend on sales. We
Hmm.
say, we make amazing soaps and stuff. And what I've always said is like, if everybody that said we inspire them would just buy our soap, we'd be fine.
That's what I was going to say because, a lot of people are naturally philanthropic. I think if you were raised in the church, at least in the South, you're always going to tithe, and then, at least my family, tithe is just the basic. Then you give outside of that. But there are people who they just say, "Well, I will support this by purchasing," and that's fine.
Yes.
Tell us about the different products and what your best sellers are. Can they only get them through the website or they sell in stores? Give us an idea of Thistle Farms and the products.
Sure. So, Thistle Farms is known as an all natural bath and body care company, but we do so much more than that. If you looked at our website, it's beautiful all we do. And we've cultivated this line of products over a long period of time. One of our foundational products is a candle. So we started early on making candles saying we light this candle for the woman on the street and the woman that wants to find her way home.
Mm.
And that candle is a miracle. I mean, we sell, it's like one of our biggest sellers. There's all kinds of scents, there's all kinds of vessels it comes in. But the whole idea is that if we can all light these candles, people can make their way home. And you can translate a candle into a house. That's crazy to me. That we
Mhm.
would sell 50,000 candles, it becomes a home.
Wow.
It's beautiful, but we also are known for our healing oils, some of our soaps and lotions. We have 20 global partners who work with women who are survivors around the world. So there's 1,400 women. So, like, this yarn just came from India that I'm working with, that it's Himalayan Nara yarn. And it's women in the Himalayas that are now dying and making yarn. And we're trying to figure out how we can help them. So you'll see home goods from powerful, powerful stories of beautiful women. Anyway, I just,
Creating beautiful things.
God, I went to Nepal last year, and a group of women who were in a horrible way on the streets that they've come together. They're making scarves and they put them in these silk bags, and it's my favorite gift to give. I mean, they're so pretty. I
Do
can't.
you have those available at Thistle Farm?
Yes. Yes. I'm
Okay.
saying all of it's right on the website. What we're hoping is that people can buy from around the world, but just use one website. You don't have to go to 10 different websites.
Okay, so you are a repository. You've got things that are helping women not just locally, but all over the world, things that are made all over the world by women who are victims.
That's a very good way of saying it. You say it much better than me.
Okay, that is amazing. Okay. And I'm wondering if I should say at the point that the women are in the actually in the workforce, are they no longer victims? They're survivors.
Yes.
They're
Yes.
achievers. They're okay. I want you to tell because I know you probably have a million stories that you can tell that have just inspired you beyond belief. But give us an example of a story of a woman who was just in a horrible situation and you've told us about the one who is running the
Yes.
but what else have you seen that would inspire the rest of us who have no
So
clue really what it's like?
there was a woman that was raised in the country in Tennessee. Her name is Ty, and I can tell you her name because she tells this story better, much better than I can. But the way she describes it is hiding in a closet after school and middle school because of his stepfather, and then ending up trying to, fend for her and her younger siblings by going out on the streets so that while other girls were trying to figure out what prom dress to get, she was trying to figure out which cars were safe to get into. And then she got involved in this sting by the man who was trafficking her, that she basically also had to sell drugs, not just, herself.
Mhm.
Because you can only sell a drug once, but you can sell a person, 1,000 times. Anyway, she got caught up in the sting. She was sentenced. She got out. She came to Thistle Farms and she became a candle maker. And she was just this, she was just great. And she was so kind. But she had this last outstanding warrant. And then she ended up having to go back to court for this warrant. And they sentenced her to an additional 14 years on this last one, even though we don't charge the state. We do this work for free. Even though she was getting all the help and therapy and making restitution, they felt like she needed to go back. So she went back for 3 years. She had some great advocates. She got back out. She came back to Thistle Farms. After the day that she was released, she started making candles again. Just faithful in knowing if she just kept going, she
Mm.
would be okay. She ended up having this gift for really training and loving women who are just coming off the streets or out of prison or just being rescued in other stings. And so she became the trainer, and people just loved her. We just called her the peacemaker. She was like our little Buddha. And now she owns her own home. She's married. She's the director of manufacturing for all the manufacturing we do, which is millions a year in manufacturing. She's the director of it. And I would say from her, all of us, it would be like taking a master's class in forgiveness.
Mm.
Like what she has forgiven, like I just can't I don't know. I just can't imagine how she's done it. And it's like I want to learn to be more like her, where it's just grace upon grace upon grace. Because, so many of us feel like, oh my gosh, this is too hard, or I'm worried about this, or I'm doing this. And she is somebody that you can just be with and go, if I can just keep loving people and caring about people with compassion, everything is inevitably going to be better.
Wow, beauty from ashes. That says so much because I just listening to some of the stories from a guest who was sharing about trafficking last week. Just the anger that rises up in me just hearing about it, and that just how someone who is a victim of that, how they get from that and the destruction and the loss of so much, how they get to that place is truly a miracle. And do you
I agree with you.
it's a miracle. It's not human nature to have that love and that forgiveness. That has to be a God, a heart thing. It
I
has to
agree.
be. Well, are the ladies, when they are living there for the 2 years, do they stay there? And is there a church there? Is there like, do they do everything together?
No, there's not specifically not a church there because I think, honestly, because of my abuse, I didn't want it to be where we had to, like, you had to pray here, you had to do this, that everything was a choice. So, in other words, like, we provide the therapists like vouchers, but we're not their therapists. We can provide rides to churches, we're not the church. We
Oh,
can
wow.
provide doctors, but we don't like what I did not want to do was have it be where
Compul
we
y
had
yep.
power over
Mhm.
people because I think as a survivor myself, it's like that's the scariest thing when people have authority over you
Mm.
and control you. So it's like we are all for you and we are serving with you and we want to help you get like not everybody has the same preferences for which recovery group they go to, which church they go to, which music they listen to, what
Mhm.
clothes they want to wear, and people
Yeah,
get to have a choice.
right. Well, Becca, if there's someone watching or listening that lives wherever in the United States, whatever state, city, and they are inspired by this, is there a repository or a list of all the places that you all have? Okay, there it tell us about that. And everything you're sharing, we're going to link to in the show notes. Every single how to get in touch with you, the online catalog, the website, the social media, but the list of all the different places. Well, can you provide that?
Yes, so if you go to the national network on the website, you'll see every one.
Okay.
And the
Okay.
nice thing is that some of them are just in development now. So we're growing this network. Even now it's growing. It's crazy. But, if people want to volunteer and they're in Buffalo, they can do that. If they're in Cincinnati, they can do it. If they're in Birmingham, they can do it. Whatever. You can see the groups where you are that are part of this community of organizations that's an affiliated network for survivors.
Okay. And does every part of the network have residential or is a lot? Oh, it does. Okay. Okay. That is amazing. How on earth I cannot imagine what it has taken for when you started the initial, what was it, 1997 to today, and you're helping people all over the United States. How did you do that?
Here's the thing. If I thought my phone told me the truth about the world, I think I'd be super depressed. But the truth is, like, the thing that makes me weepy now is just remembering how generous and kind people really are. Like, everybody is so, like, you go to a place and people do want to help and people do care about people and people haven't given up on people. Like, there's hope and there's this joy of getting to be the person that helps facilitate kind of making it move from a feeling into an action.
Hmm.
That's been my greatest joy. The other thing, so I'm married to a singer songwriter in Nashville. My husband, Marcus Hummon, he's won Grammys, he's in the Hall of Fame. He wrote songs like Bless the Broken Road.
He wrote Bless the Broken Road. Oh my goodness.
He wrote a lot of songs,
That's
he,
amazing, but that's a very, I mean, everybody knows that song.
he
Yeah.
all along the way has been so kind to keep, this vibrant music community and these people that I would never be able to have, access to, that have been, they've really helped the story along. So it hasn't been this like one group of people. It's like,
Okay.
okay,
Mhm.
it's just church people. It's just people who care about this work and justice. It's just the music community. It seems like it's been this wide variety of people who are like excited and happy to help. And we've been, our statistics have always shown us to be super, because we have done it so slow and grown so purposefully, people trust us.
Mhm.
I think.
Mhm.
I hope.
Yeah. To anyone out there listening, watching, what would you like to say? What is your biggest statement, request to anyone who is wants to dig deeper, wants to help, wants to play a part and make a difference?
I don't have one thing to say except that I hope that if they have a spark in them, that they tend to that spark to see what, grows. That, this is a journey for all of us. Forgiveness is a journey, love is a journey, relationship is a journey. And I hope that something that we've said in here, if you're on a journey of healing yourself, that you tend to that. If you're on a journey of wanting to get more involved, you tend to that. But that, these little sparks that podcasts light in us, they have to be tended to or else it dies pretty quickly because there's so much distraction and noise. So just know that we are a part of a longer term journey and we're open. And I'm going to take you to lunch at the cafe next time you're in Nashville.
Oh, I'm going you and I are going to get you are just well, you're beautiful. You're beautiful to look at, but you're beautiful on the inside. And what you've done is so inspirational. And I see you have so many honorary doctorates. And I love to learn from women like you. And I
Oh,
just want to end because I am the practical person, everybody's practical best friend. I just want to encourage everyone. The soap is fabulous. I mean, the bath bombs and the candles. Y'all, we can all use beautiful, pure soaps and candles, and they're beautiful. So I want to challenge everyone when I get off, I'm placing an order. Everybody just right now, while you're thinking about it, go to the website, place an order, and you'll have a beautiful product and you will have made a difference. That is so simple and so easy.
and just remember when you're placing that order that the woman that's going to take that order off the computer is a survivor. The woman that's going to pack the box is a survivor. The woman who's going to finish up and do the inventory and the logistics is a survivor. The woman that made it is a survivor. It's like 4 and 5 people will touch your product before you receive it who are all grateful and sending love.
Oh my goodness, that makes me teary. That is so precious. I cannot get to the website fast enough. Becca, I consider you now a dear friend. I can't wait to see you in Nashville and anytime you want to come back on, please do. And to those of you who joined us today, until next time, be blessed and have a fabulous rest of your day. Hi, everyone. I hope you enjoyed this episode of the Savvy Cast. If you'll take the time to rate, review, and subscribe on iTunes, that would mean so much. As always, thank you for listening and have a blessed day.